Bizak. I'm gonna do this again. Shoot. C'est à là. Let's see. Man. All right. Let's look. I can rock with that. Is asking me anything live stream again. And you know, ask me anything as long as it's family friendly. As long as it's family friendly.
Pizza. No. Can I go along? Yes!
You both said yes to something. The delicious Eggo taste they want. Now, there are some people out there under the belief that the Old Republic time period of Star Wars kicked off with the game Knights of the Old Republic. And who could really blame them? It was an incredible game, and for many, it was indeed their introduction to the time period. But before there was ever Revan, there were characters like Ulick Eldroma, Nomi Sunrider, and among many others. And they first appeared in a comic series that came out roughly 10 years before the game ever did. That being the 5-issue series, though it was just the first of several series to come. There was a 5-issue comic series called Tales of the Jedi, which kicked off in October of 1993. And I am old enough to remember when those comics first came out. And I remember reading them back then, for the most part anyway. I'm not going to BS you and say I remember every little detail with crystal clarity. So I recently decided to reread them, the first 5-issue series that is, and I'll be reading the other ones as well from the series from back in the day, and perhaps doing videos on them as well. We'll see what people think of this one first. Either way, what I do remember from reading them the first time around back then was being a bit confused by them. Not because I couldn't understand them. Going so far back in time, 4,000 years in the past, was a really fascinating idea to me at the time.
That's okay.
It was cool to get a glimpse into the Jedi and Sith history, not to mention the story itself was really good. But what confused me, and keep in mind this is the pre-internet time, so from my point of view, they just sort of showed up one day. I don't recall having heard about them coming out, so they seem to come out of nowhere. And this was at a time shortly or a couple of years after we had got Dark Empire, the first part of it anyway, and about 6 months after The Last Command had come out, which wrapped up the original Thrawn trilogy from Timothy Zahn. In other words, I was eager and ready for more post-Return of the Jedi time period stuff.
Get this on my desktop. I almost forgot.
Public, whatever that was. But little did I know at the time that what inspired this decision from Lucasfilm to make these comics, was actually the Dark Empire comics, the little mentions of ancient Sith in there that we got. It had them thinking maybe we should explore all that further. We even see our first ever holocron in Dark Empire, which is an idea that Lucas himself liked so much, he obviously incorporated it into his Star Wars, if you will. Either way, all that talk of ancient Sith was the reason we got Tales of the Jedi, and both it and Dark Empire are written by the same guy, by Tom Beach. And so moving on to how the Old Republic era actually started, what these first 5 issues were all about, though I'll only be covering the first 2 here. Well, there is, in classic Star Wars fashion, a sort of opening crawl at the start of the first issue that lets us know that the discovery of hyperspace travel is what has brought the galaxy together, and that what keeps the peace is wise and selfless politicians, as well as a heroic warrior fraternity known as the Jedi Knights. And in those days, a great many Force-sensitive individuals willingly entered arduous Jedi training under accomplished Jedi Masters, which is interesting to note because when the prequels came out, we learned that at some point, the Jedi started to, well, they took children at a young age before they formed any real attachments and trained them that way. Though also in these comics, we'll get to see that Jedi were allowed to love and marry and do all that sort of stuff as well. This was a different time for Star Wars and the Jedi in more ways than one. Anyway, there are basically 2 main protagonists in these first 5 issues. Ulick Eldroma, who gets the first 2 issues that I'm going to be covering here, and Nomi Sunrider, who gets the final 3, and I'll cover later. Again, if people enjoy this video. And Beach, the writer, is very much setting them up for bigger and better things down the road. Although at the time of first reading these, I really didn't know that or how big these stories would eventually become. Beach
National Geographic and Disney present the story of a cub who could be king.
Your body changes. So should your mattress. Sleep Number. To a good night's sleep.
And since you bundled home and auto with 24/7 protection, you can hand all the worry over to us.
That's right. At Progressive, it's our job to do the work.
Where collarbones crack, where hips break, where ACLs.
Veach is also really trying to establish a whole brand new time period in these first 5 issues, one that, yes, will help inspire that aforementioned game, Knights of the Old Republic, roughly a decade later. Not to mention, again, a whole time period or era of Star Wars in and of itself that is beloved by many nowadays. And overall, there are quite a few little nuggets of information in these first few comics to take in and absorb, and that you'll be tested on later. But right away, in the very first issue, we meet Ulick Keldroma, his brother Kay, Top Donita, and their master Arca Jeff, who, after a bit of a training montage where Ulick is seen to be capable, if not a bit overconfident, the master tells them he's been assigned to the recently discovered world of Onderon, a world that might be familiar to you. We see it in Clone Wars, it's where Saw Gerrera comes from. But he's going to send his 3 students there in his stead as a sort of final Jedi test. And he tells them the history of this planet. How, at one point, to make a long story short, its moon basically brushed a little too close to the planet and their atmospheres touched, and all these flying beasts from the moon were able to migrate over to Onderon itself, and they started to attack the human inhabitants. So the humans built these walled cities, and over the years, they kicked out all their criminals into the jungles, and those criminals eventually tamed the beasts and used them to attack the cities. This is all known as the Beast Wars of Onderon. Our 3 Jedi students are being sent to Onderon to end this 300-year-old conflict. And when the Jedi students ultimately get there, after being attacked by the Beast Riders on their way in, they land in the heavily fortified city of Iziz and meet with Queen Amidala, Queen Amanoa, and her daughter, Princess Galia. The queen is a little disappointed not to get a Jedi Master, but accepts them and asks them for help. But literally, while this is all happening, they're attacked again by the Beast Riders, who somehow know how to get past their defenses this time, and to the Citadel they're all in.
I don't have any comments for this, 'cause I don't know this comic Tales of the Jedi.
Seems rather confident in his abilities again. This is a bit of foreshadowing as to where his story will eventually go. Some Beast Rider commandos then take the princess, though the queen tries to save her daughter herself, invoking the name Freedom Nad to try and use some type of magic, it seems. And the Jedi sense maybe there's some dark side stuff going on here. There's something not quite right with her, but they're too concerned with getting the princess back to worry about all of that right now. And so they head off into the jungle, and Ulick is very eager to once again get the chance to put his abilities to the test. Eventually, the Jedi make their way to the Beast Rider hideout, or fortress, led there by a beast that Tot Donita has befriended, and they arrive just in time to break up a wedding between
I
the
don't like
princess
this.
and Orin Kira, who is the son of the reigning Beast Lord. And Orin has been sneaking into the city for years at this point, and, well, he laid eyes on the princess one time, and they fell in love, and, yeah, you've heard a story similar to this before. And so, no surprise, the 2 lovebirds arranged the abduction because even though Princess Galia loves her mother, she doesn't want to live under the power of the dark side any longer, which, when she says that, makes the Jedi sit up and take a bit of notice. Turns out that 4 centuries ago, a Jedi named Freedom Nad came to their world and decided to rule it, and said there would be no contact with outsiders or the outside galaxy because he didn't want to be challenged by anybody. But, of course, some people challenged him anyway, and those who did were called criminals and cast out, and you see where this is going, I think. The good people who fought back became the Beast Lords we know now. Orin's father, Modin, then invites the Jedi to have a feast with them, and they talk about how they're pretty much done with the city folk and are preparing an all-out attack. Ulick asks for one more chance to go back to the city and to see if they can talk all this out, which Modin again the leader of the Beast Lords, agrees to. But it's then that his father, or the grandfather of Orin, speaks for the first time in 50 years since he escaped the city, and he asks that when these peace talks fail, will they fight alongside them? Will the Jedi fight with them? Ulick then says he's not going to fail, but if he does fail, he'll fight because there's no other choice. The negotiations then fail, or never really take place. The queen agrees to meet with them, but as soon as she sees her daughter, she gets all upset and once again invokes the name Freedon Nad, or calls upon his spirit. And this time, thanks to all her anger and hatred, she's able to channel some sort of dark side power and begins to unleash the power of the dark side itself in these waves, ones that are even strong enough to fill the armies outside, because yes, the Beast Riders have assembled a massive army, and thanks to getting some guns from outsiders in the last few years since being discovered by the larger galaxy, they have evened the odds for the first time and are having a fair battle. They're actually doing quite well in winning the battle. But now their morale is being crushed by the power of the dark side, given off by the queen and the spirit of Freedon Nad. Ulick, who has sought peace at the behest of his master all this time, then realizes he has to do what he must and starts to fight back. Though it's actually his brother, Kay, who first challenges the queen and ends up getting his arm cut off. Ulick is then like, please don't die, brother, and his brother responds like, hey, it's just an arm, I'm gonna make it. I can even make myself another one. He is shown to be very handy, no pun intended, throughout the comics and enjoys fixing things and all that. He even right away starts taking the arm of the droid to use as his own. Anyway, the battle's not going well for the Beast Riders, thanks again to the Queen. Their beasts can't be controlled, and they themselves are getting sick and losing the will to fight, which is when Master Arca Jeff shows up and starts using Jedi battle meditation, which is something you've probably heard of, and he begins to even the odds back out, or to counteract the Queen's dark side power. And soon enough, the Beast Lords, they win, and they take the city. But that's not quite the end. First, Arca's a little upset that his students couldn't handle the job and that he had to intervene, and that they didn't send.
So this comic was the beginning of the Old Republic,
Ulick then argues he
where
didn't
most people
quite
think it
teach
started
them
with
or
the video
prepare them
game
for something
Knights of the
like
Old
this,
Republic. So he's
and
showing that
Arca concedes
this
that
Marvel
maybe
comic
right.
from the 90s, Tales
Arca
of
then
the
uses the Force to
Tales
lead
of the
them all
Jedi,
back
were
to
the
tomb of
beginning of
Freedon
this
Nad.
of the
And once there, with his presence
history
and
of the Old
power
Republic.
alone, Arca is able to free the Queen from the hold of the dark side. He then throws open the tomb and reveals the remains of Freedon Nad, saying how he stopped being a Jedi long ago, that he apprenticed himself to a Dark Lord of the Sith, but that in the tradition of the Sith, there could only be one Dark Lord at a time. And no, he isn't exactly referencing the rule of two. He's saying that of all the Sith out there, which there can be many, there can only be one top dog. And since Freedon wanted to be the top dog and didn't quite have the power, he went to Onderon, kept them isolated, and ruled over the people. And after he died, his tomb became a source of dark side energy, which corrupted people for hundreds of years, until Arca put an end to it because he's that damn good. The end of this part of the story, which is the end of the second issue, before we move on to Nomi Sunrider's portion of the series, but it ends with Arca warning that Freedon Nad may have some worshippers left in the city, and that the king might still be alive out there somewhere and ready to start some more trouble. Ulick asks how someone who trains in the ways of the Jedi, like Freedon did, could ever fall to the dark side. How is that possible? And Arca says, it's happened before, it will happen again, just hope it doesn't happen to you, Ulick, which again is a bit of foreshadowing here.
I might have to pick.
Anyway,
I might have to read this
that's the first two
comic.
issues. That's how the Old Republic, once upon a time, began, kicked off entirely. That is the start.
I'm pretty sure there's
Again, I, for the most part, remember reading it back in the day and really enjoying it, but wondering what was.
I'm pretty sure there's a TP version where I can get all 5 volumes in one book.
That's what I really wanted, to be honest with you, after reading the Zahn trilogy, or Thrawn trilogy, however you want to look at it. I really had no way of knowing back then just how much more Old Republic there would be to come and how popular and great it would eventually be. Well, I guess that's going to be all I got for this time. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments below, and perhaps I will carry on with the story of the Old Republic. But either way, leave those comments below. Let's talk some Star Wars, and until next time, thanks for watching.
Frisky's right.
It's new, glazed and infused, and fully loaded.
Yeah, Frisky's new amp lineup.
Monday.
Let's go into some O'Shea Duke Jackson. And yeah, got quite a bit of it to watch.
Me, a few days ago, tried to a few days ago tried to build a a few days ago. Listen to the heartbeat of America.
Chevy SUVs are made with everything you.
A few days ago, NTR made a video called "Woman Gets Checked After Defending Meg the Stallion." Now that brought me over to her YouTube channel and Instagram. The name of the Instagram and YouTube channel is called Dollface Kelly, and she operates this pod called "Say It With Your Chest." Now I looked at this lady, and she had went viral. When I looked at her Instagram, I noticed that she had a certain level of smoke for black men.
I just got one question. Why would I trust a damn Ray Charles is blind as if one answer that question for me. Just one answer that Ray Charles is blind as doing his cheating like a mom. Why would I trust it?
In this particular podcast,
Oh, okay.
that she,
So we know she's
was
stupid.
on, she had her brother by the name of JJ, and basically the brother JJ was saying that a lot of black women are coming to Atlanta because they're trying to find a dude with some money.
Have you been dating since you've been in Atlanta?
This ain't a place you date. Like in Atlanta, it's a place where women come because they feel like they're gonna bump into that guy.
You think that females come to Atlanta to find a nigga?
Oh yeah,
That's crazy.
I bet it is.
That's crazy for you to think that.
Now, what happened here
He's
is
not
she was
wrong.
like, nah, that's not true. Then after she said that's not true, she basically came
And
after
smart
black men.
brothers going to Atlanta don't date down there.
I see Atlanta dry as hell. Man, right level down, but everybody knows that it was just a home.
Yeah.
Atlanta, all the shit's in jail. Not coming to Atlanta to find no rich. I said, and I turned to my comments off on y'all last night because y'all weren't gonna get one up on me while I was asleep. Now I'm gonna get
It's
right back
ugly,
up.
ghetto,
As soon
and
as I come from the gym, I said,
Now, it's interesting. After JJ showed her that women probably open the most newest business, or they're opening up more business than anybody else, but there are more male entrepreneurs. He was politely trying to tell her that, listen, you need to stop talking about how broke black men are because no, y'all don't have more money than us on average. All right? This is even before NTR said something about it. She caught a lot of slack from her own male listeners. There's a lot of brothers that didn't appreciate that. And she came back after those dudes with a vengeance.
black women, we make more money than a lot of men. It's more broke than it is broke females. Period.
When you type in highest paid entrepreneurs, men are gonna pop up.
No, it's not.
yes.
Type it in right now.
Highest paid entrepreneur? I
It's
guarantee you a man is
gonna
gonna
be.
pop up. I guarantee you a man is gonna pop up. This.
We're not even doing highest paid. We're doing the most.
There's more men entrepreneurs.
It say, no, what it says is, read it. You gotta read it.
More men own businesses overall. Female entrepreneurs are starting new businesses at a basically unrapid rate.
Say that is more women.
No, it says it's more men, even though women are growing rapidly. It's more men.
I mean, I don't even understand what she was saying.
I mean, she's a retarded Atlanta
Once I
bitch.
saw NTR's video and I saw part of the podcast, I actually made my own video on the young lady, and it was called "Why BBL Struggle Models Are So Mad at Men." And yes, this sister, in my honest opinion, is definitely weaving and BBLing it up. And to my certain take here, when I really analyze her after looking at
God,
the kind
she's
of
ugly.
pictures that she takes, after looking at how she presents herself, it's just very difficult for somebody to take somebody like her seriously. And unfortunately, I wasn't trying to be mean. I was not trying to be rude or anything like that.
I am.
Really take, let's say, a certain level of pride, like, being mean to women or whatever, or saying stuff like that. But largely, I believe that I'm right. You see somebody like her and how she moves. It's just very difficult for a man that has anything to lose to look at somebody like her and say, you know what, Dollface Kelly, she is different than what I can get out here. You know, she makes me want to.
I wouldn't fuck
money
her with
on
someone else's
She
dick.
makes me want to wipe her up. She's a BBL baddie, you know, if that.
Yes.
And she's a lady that, in my honest opinion, that is trying to get on in the industry. She may know some people in the industry. She's
You know, that
close
shit
enough to get
stinks.
some people to come to the
You
interview.
know her ass
But
stinks.
she's definitely
I mean,
not
literally.
on
I
podcasts.
don't mean
Nobody
like
really
she
cares
sucks.
about
She probably
what
does
she has to say.
suck as a
All right?
person.
And the
But I mean,
reasons why
her butt
she
probably
attracts
literally
the kind
does
of man
stink.
to her that she has
Pretty
is
sure.
because of, like, look at how she looks. Look at how she dressed. I mean, you can go to her Instagram, and a lot of these photos you can't even post. I mean,
I put myself in a bear hug to keep from snacking.
You should try wonderful pistachios. They're tasty and healthy.
Mmm. That honey?
Yep.
Coming soon, a new Planet Fitness is opening near you. 24 milk
I'm
bars
bad
for
the
$10
bear
a month
licked
on our
his
most
lip.
popular
Like,
membership, the PF Black Card, $19.99 a month. And
I diss Planet
join today for
Planet
$1
Fitness a
down.
lot, but I go there
Planet
like
Fitness in
every week,
Randallstown.
so
Deal ends soon.
Of all the tools we use,
try to go there every week.
our most powerful tool
I missed
is
like
understanding what
4 years
will
ago
make
when
you
I used to go
feel
like
something.
I was up to like almost 4 or 5 times a week.
Wait, you can declutter.
But my
on
friend and
Etsy?
I's schedule changed.
Yep.
He got
Earn
more
cash from
busy.
homeware, fashion, sports gear.
And since I always followed his
books,
workout routine,
toys,
I didn't have
and
my own
just download
for
the app.
as far as
snap your
lift. I have my
items,
own routine
Add a detailed description
as
to your
far as
listing. Choose all the correct info.
you know,
check
martial
your
arts,
price.
running,
Get ready
calisthenics.
to sell
But
across
lifting,
all kinds of
you know,
categories. And with no selling fees,
I was
you
going
keep
by whatever
all the
routine
money
he
you
was
earn.
doing.
Turn
So
household
he
clutter
changed
into
it where
cash on
his
Vinted.
is only like
Don't use it?
2,
Sell it.
3 days a week. So
you hear how she talks. I mean, just look at the pictures. You're BBL and that. I mean, you may or may not be promiscuous. It doesn't matter because that's what you're showing the whole entire world. And so this is what MTR was also saying in his video. Like, look, you see, Atlanta young lady, you have a problem with men. So number one, your attitude is bad, and then you present yourself as you're the queen of the 304. Now, she came back and came to his video, and you will not believe what she said.
Comments and said some very inappropriate things to your good old boy MTR. She said, quote, when men make comments on hair, it's caps lock suspect. I don't know if this is they just make it so easy for me, right? Like, people pull out the potential homosexual comments because a man has a preference on you not having goddamn crayon colored hair.
So basically, here she is saying, when men make comments on woman hair, it's suspect. First of all, I mean, how old are you? You speak English, but again, this is what happens when you're not educated. When men make comments on woman's hair, it should be on women's hair, it's suspect. No, what's suspect is the fact that she barely finished 6th grade. And these are the kind of people that are in Atlanta. They don't have, I mean, not all of them, but people like her. She probably came from somewhere else, and you don't even read or spell on a 9th grade level. And you're in Atlanta to do what? You're obviously not there adding anything to the entertainment values chain. You're trying to start a podcast and come up the chain yourself because you largely don't offer any real value. Secondarily, you make comments on men in general. Is that not suspect? So again, if somebody wants to call you out for your BBLs, your red and blonde weaves, I mean, I don't know how many color weaves she had. I see blonde hair. She is, let me say, I see a burgundy, I see black, I see all different kinds, and that's fine. I mean, it's okay, but you don't want to be criticized, yet you want to have the rights to criticize others. And then you look at a person like this, and then you realize why a person like this can't grow. And it's largely just bigger than male and female dynamics. You know, back in 2015, I would just tell you that this person has a problem with men. That's what I would say. Now living in 2026, I look at this person and I say, this person doesn't add any value to anybody. There is nobody that gets up in the morning and say, I get something of value from this lady. You just like nobody can say that. And because this person is a personal problem. They have personal issues. They're not a value add. Okay? They probably don't listen to anything that anybody says. They're probably largely not concerned. And when you deal with them, it's a headache, whether that's a man or a woman. And no man can get up every day and deal with a person, not an adult man, that talks like this and even acts like this. And then the other problem with this largely is this. Women like her largely don't want to be around dudes like her.
Exactly.
Because it's trifling, right? You can't have somebody who is BBLing it up as a woman and that's that can articulate herself in the same way, which is not very sophisticated. But this is the same woman. She wants to be around a sophisticated man. And the problem with being around a sophisticated man is that a sophisticated man has no real options for her. So they despise the men that come around them. The reason why they despise the men that come around them is because it's too much like them. So the dudes don't have money. They're scammers. They're broke. They don't have anything to offer. They're liars. Well, this is what happens when you don't work on yourself. When you just put out to the world what you want people to accept, that's fine. But that doesn't mean you're going to get something that's worth having. You're most likely not going to get that. And this is what happens with the BBL baddies. They put out their tattoos, their different colored weaves, and then guess who you attract? You don't attract dudes who say, you know what? That's what I want to deal with. That's what I want to be with. No, it doesn't happen. You get avoided because you're problematic. Nobody can take you nowhere that makes sense. Then you want to, you talk about me, that's gay. Dude, you should really be happy he even acknowledged your little podcast. Okay? Like, largely, because you got all of them people on your show, big time people, and you're getting like 400 views. What does that tell you? You got Carlos Miller from 85 South. He's over there. I don't know why you wasting his time with your ass, but he's there. You still
Probably because he got paid, or she gave him a blowjob. One of the
It
two.
means that you're not a factor in this, okay? And you don't bring no value to nobody. I know that you're mad, and largely it's not my fault.
Like, her channel is smaller than me, and she has all this going on for her. Like, that's crazy. I mean, she has more Instagram followers, so maybe that's the problem with trying to do both. So that's
Fix your posture, take a drink of water, and then check out tpublic.com. Millions of
I'm drinking my water,
independent artists.
and I'm gonna fix my
And also,
posture.
quite honestly, for those born in the 1900s, don't get mad at me if it's true. You might find something you like.
Stop calling it the 1900s. It's technically true, but you're talking about 6 different generations of people in the 1900s. From the very first ones, the lost generation, then the greatest generation, then the silent generation, then the baby boomers, then Generation X, then millennials, and then finally the earliest of the Gen Z. You have 7 generations from the 1900s. So why do you? That just sounds goofy. But anyway, I'm gonna watch another one and another one.
What?
And another one.
Many of you got
And another one.
Many of you guys remember Fox Soul when it had the show with Vivica A. Fox, Lisa Ray, Silena Johnson, and then you had Claudia Jordan. And the name of the show was Cocktails with the Queens, and it was on
Watch
around
that
the time
bullshit.
that Kevin Samuels was alive, a little bit before COVID and a little bit after COVID, right? It's now defunct, thank God, because Fox Soul was trash. But Claudia Jordan, and to be honest, I never knew who she was until that show. But when Kevin Samuels passed away, I do remember her saying this.
I think there is a place for people like Kevin Samuels to say, listen, you're being
Was
unrealistic.
Fox Soul
You have
owned by
nothing to
Fox?
bring to the table, and you want this
It's like
high value man, although Kevin
Fox
Samuels himself
TV,
was not a high
like
value man.
So this that
the
same
Fox,
show where
the
look
new
at
Fox
this
Corporation.
Kevin Samuels. But let me just get back to the whole thing. In the case of Claudia Jordan,
Vivica hasn't been
Claudia
pretty
said
since the
Kevin is
90s.
not
I'm just gonna
high
say
value.
it. I know some
But
people
the
still like in the
question is,
2000s,
was Claudia
in the
Jordan?
2010s. No,
And
I'm
that's
sorry.
the issue.
She
And
was
Claudia
hot
Jordan
on
was
Out All Night
married and divorced.
when she first came out. It was an
Never got
NBC
married
show
again.
with Morris,
And
to star
despite
with
her hating
co-starring
on
Morris
Kevin
Chestnut and
Samuels,
Patti
the
LaBelle.
one thing that we know about Claudia Jordan is that
That's
not
when I found her
only
pretty
she
back
struggled
on that show.
romantically, she
By the time she was on
struggled
Independence Day, she was still pretty, but I wasn't really into her by
in
then.
her bank account. And I hit her up on Instagram. I was like, girl,
And that was in
all
90s.
that you act like you don't remember what you actually did to
96.
you in bank statements. Like,
Now,
But Out All
this
Night,
guy,
Out All
David
Night
Cunningham,
came
he
out in the early
on
90s.
Tasha K, and he said,
And it
listen,
only
Claudia
survived,
Jordan
it only
said
made it one season.
he had to basically make it look like she had money in her account and that she can qualify for a loan. Now, those of you who understand, being a celebrity, it's not what you think. For example, somebody like me on YouTube, I'm a pretty much an unknown person, but as long as I want to continue to make videos for an audience on YouTube and you want to just churn it out, you largely can make more money than people like Claudia Jordan, who typically they get paid because of the Real Housewives stuff. They get paid because of contract deals. And as you get older, that industry is very, let me say, it's very brutal. So she doesn't really have consistent income like somebody like me or Poetic Flacco and all of that. So in order for her to get a house, she had to go ahead on a.
I'm glad they mended their little beef.
For a chick going around saying that somebody else is not high value. Then last year,
Although it was
when
funny
she
when they were
could
beefing.
not find anybody to deal with her ass, she went to the shade room and said this.
You think
I can see her being pretty, like,
down that there's always going to be a lot of supply on the show.
35 years
And
ago.
it's not.
She was probably hot back
Like
then.
at this age, a lot of the good guys are married or taken because they're good guys.
Yeah, because you're a fucking grandma. Yes, the guys are taken now. You're a fucking grandma.
A lady who has been in Hollywood for a long time. I don't know if you understand this, but Claudia Jordan is from Rhode Island. Claudia Jordan, I believe, is half black, half white, right? She was Miss Rhode Teen Island 1990,
See?
Miss Rhode Island USA 1997. She made the top 10 in the Miss USA 1997.
Yeah, she was hot 35 years ago.
A mixed beauty pageant, you can go left and right. All these opportunities, and don't nobody want your ass, right? Again, you was over there hating on Kevin, he ain't high value. Look at how your life turning out. Dusty, broke, with no opportunities. But this was the best part.
So we had broken up. He was in town for an award show, and they were hosting a party at this place. So I knew he was going to be there. So I packed an overnight bag, and I'm like thinking, surely he'd want to hang out with me afterwards.
Right.
Like, of course. Why would he not? Like, why would you not?
Wait for it.
So anyways, at the end of the night, I was hovering, like whatever. I thought maybe we would hang out, and he goes, ooh, I have plans.
So this is somebody she used to deal with, and she tried to spit in the block. Russ said, hell no, take your ass on. I'm not dealing with it, all right? But this is the thing, right? Claudia Jordan recently went viral for hating on Portia Williams. Now, Portia Williams is definitely a gold digger, and definitely, not a good person, from what I understand. But I want you to hear the level of hatred that she got.
Okay, that's one. He was around since Cornell. Matter of fact, when I met Portia, he invited me to lunch and to dinner, and I met her. She was a sweet girl, fresh out of getting out of the divorce, and I was introduced to her as she was his girlfriend. So imagine my surprise when we went out that night, and his other rich friend comes, and Portia said, "I need to get that." So that was my first issue with her, because if my friend I'm introduced to you as my friend's girl, and you go behind his, to me, you're telling me you want to step on my boy. I'm looking at you crazy, and I've always looked at her sideways since then. So there's your origin story, ladies and gentlemen. I lost respect.
Now, out in front, it don't sound like it's no haterade, right? But
No
she said that
hateration
she
or
had a friend
holleration.
that
Stop.
Portia Dennis was up.
It's time to rip off their mask and expose big fintech for who they truly are. Big fintech gave 90% of their contributions to Democrats, including hundreds of thousands of dollars to Kamala Harris. Big fintech deplatformed President Trump and stopped processing payments from his campaign website. Big fintech pushed woke DEI policies and then got sued for discrimination. Behind the mask is a bunch of woke liberals. Big fintech can't be trusted.
Kind of agree with that, but I can't stand those sort of commercials.
It's the Whopper guarantee.
I want a Whopper. I want a Whopper right now.
That's
Pause.
why Harbor Freight is committed to offering quality tools to pros like yourself at a fraction of the price.
I do want a,
Today, put us
that,
to the
but a
test.
Burger King
Only at Harbor
Whopper
Freight.
sounds tasty
Pro
right
tools
now. Though.
destination.
I'm not going to lie.
I own the big
I don't have fast food money though. I love fast food, but I don't have fast food money. One of the main things, one of the main keys, you will know that I'm rich or I've hit the lottery, is that you'll see me eating a lot of fast food. Either that or I'm in the Philippines because the food is cheaper there. So if I'm in the Philippines, I'm gonna be eating a lot of fast food. That doesn't mean I'm rich. But if you see me still here eating a lot of fast food, I've came into some money.
Funding, he was helping her meet
Or I
stuff.
became a scammer.
And
No,
at
I'm
the
not
same
joking.
time,
I'm joking.
Claudia Jordan felt bad because the quote unquote friend was not in a relationship that was reciprocated by Portia Williams. So I thought about this and I'm like, wow, let me.
I want like a triple Whopper.
Right?
I'm
How
sorry.
is it that Portia Williams,
I want a triple
who
Whopper,
doesn't have
some onion
the
rings
reach
with the
that
onion
you
ring
did,
dipping
don't get me wrong,
sauce,
Portia Williams, she was married to
with
Cordell Stewart
with a
and
strawberry
Simon
milkshake.
Bavaria, but if she can find somebody that will spend money on her, and you can't.
And no, and I want the onion rings mixed,
Okay,
the
if
halfies,
this guy is a
the
good
halfsies,
friend,
where
and
you have
he was
the
doing
half
all these things
onion
for
rings,
her,
half
then you tell
French
me,
fries.
why couldn't he do those things for you?
And I want the triple Whopper with the bacon on it,
So many
no
of these
cheese,
women come across these good
and maybe a
black
Dutch
men
apple pie,
all the time. Then, because of their disrespect
and the classic chicken
attitudes,
sandwich
they friend zone
with it.
the wrong guys. Then they get old. All of a sudden, it's I wish I would have did things differently. I wish I would.
You can tell she was hot 35 years ago. I can see her winning Miss Rhode Island.
Really, it's about her nasty.
But now, no, she's like someone's grandma. Why she think she's still gonna get a man? She's in her 60s.
You're out here beefing with other people, largely because other women have been able to find men that you cannot. Even though they ruined it themselves also, they've been able to do it and you can't. And there you are, barely making it, barely scrapping by. The phone don't ring so much. They got opportunities, but you're still trying to be in the podcast circuit. And that's why you see so many ladies who was in Hollywood. You know, people are
I need to get into the
back
podcast
social
circuit.
media. Everybody has a podcast
Anyone
myself.
watching me,
You know, at first there was a few people.
on replay, show me off to some
Everybody's
of these other
content
folks that you
creator.
know
Everybody's trying to get
in
trying to
YouTube
get a new
spaces.
brand deal.
I
Everybody's
would love to
trying
be in
build
these little
something here.
podcasts,
Everybody
giving
is
my
doing it,
opinions.
and largely,
It would be
the
great.
reason why
It would be
this
fun.
happens
It would
is because
it would just be
you
fun
don't
to
have
do. It would be fun.
Man, he had every reason why you should have got one. And one of the reasons why is a lot of these ladies, I hate to say it, do not want to be accountable. They don't. You can say that Kevin Samuels had all these wrong criticisms, but if you don't think that something is wrong with you,
His criticisms were
all we
completely
gotta do
on
is look
point.
at your life and see how you do, and we will see that you end up being somebody that nobody likes. This is what happens. Now you're down bad. Now it's all shady. And
I'm always
it
gonna
looks
give a
like
thumbs up
Kevin
when he
Samuels was right.
defends Kevin.
He's dead and gone, yet here you are still struggling on a struggle podcast with friends, talking about how much you hate somebody when don't nobody want to deal with you. And to be honest, guys, it's largely sad. I mean, I'm gonna be real. I used to think that it was funny and all this and stuff. It's not. Honestly, I feel sorry for some of these ladies because, you know, when you're in your 50s, it's very difficult for a lady to kind of be reacclimated. You kind of go through this whole life where
I don't feel sorry for them. They
myself,
had
Then you get
25, 30
40s,
years
50s,
to find a
but,
guy.
you know, people start around you start passing away. You know, for a guy, if you're in your 50s,
No one gives a shit
40s,
about
70s,
us.
The internet is there. You can kind of move someplace else. Guys coming to Thailand, guys coming to Africa. You can reacclimate into a whole new group. You can easily start dating somebody younger again.
Yeah, but that's because we come into our own later on in life. They come into their own early on in life. So just like later on in life, we can max on that later on in life, 35 and over. For them, 18 and over for them is when they max. And if they don't take advantage, if they want to just ride the cock carousel from 18 to 35 instead of hunkering down for good man, that's on them. I'm not gonna feel sorry for them. Like they don't feel sorry for us.
When I got time, I'm with him, hanging out with him, and we talk to him every day. You know what I mean?
I caught my wife when I was 39.
So guys, what do you think? It's your boy. I'll say these guys. Back at again. The episode of Let's Let Me Jump. All right, what you follow? You just heard a bell. Wow.
Fund your next era with Vinted. With new categories.
Yeah, she exists. She sometimes comes on my videos. I will have her on a feature video.
Snap a photo from each angle.
Do some more O'Shea.
The other day, Kim.
All right, I'm gonna let this commercial rock, and I'm gonna use the laboratory. I'm gonna utilize the latrine, as we said in the military, and I'll be back. Like anyone's watching anyway, but if not, whatever.
The other day, Kendra G pulled up to this particular podcast, a radio show called The Morning Hustle. Shout out to them. They have 44,000 subscribers on YouTube, but unfortunately, that video only got 431 views. Yeah, as it appears, Kendra G is not bringing in the people. But that wasn't the real issue of this particular show. There came to a point where the brother asked Kendra G a very interesting question. What are you looking for? There we go. Yeah. Comparing everybody else, I'm gonna pair you up. Let's go. So this is a very, very good question in my honest opinion. What are you looking for? What do you want from a man? I mean, since you're going around here,
I was gonna run this back in there.
World, right?
She's not pretty either.
And Kendra G says something that is very, very, very interesting.
Let me pause this for a second, just so I can rant. This is why I started dating women of other races. As I realized once black women got to a certain age, they just no longer were physically attractive to me. Like when I was a teenager, they were. And even in college, because most of us are basically still adolescents in college, just older adolescents between, like between 18 and 24. Yes, you're an adult after 21, but I mean, really, from 18 to 24 is still the same adolescent mindset, and but also the same physical youth and beauty as well. I realized after that age, they were no longer physically attractive to me. Then I realized that even the the other women of that age looked better, but I didn't realize that till much later. But anyway, Kendra G's just not attractive. And like I said, most of these middle-aged black women just aren't attractive. They're my age, some of them a little younger, and they're just not attractive. I'm sorry, I don't know, because I don't know what it is. Because like in the 80s and 90s, they were pretty. Black girls in the 90s, when I was a teenager, they were so pretty. Now I cannot look. I can't look at them in the same way.
Kendra trying to find a man. The man got to find Kendra. And I'm not easy. Here's the deal. I sit in a true seat of knowing my value and my worth. And I just feel like anything.
A lot of words to
anyone
say
that
no
puts
man
that
likes you.
onto me would be a blessed person because I'm a good woman. I'm an asset. I'm gonna pour in.
Oh God, we've heard this a lot. She knows her value. She knows her worth. A man has to pursue and find her because she's a blessed person. She's a good woman. She's an asset. She's going to pour in. All right. So
Sure.
let me just say this because I hear a lot of ladies saying this, and I'm just so old now. I don't really give a damn. You can say whatever the hell you feel. If you feel
Heard Ice Cream Man? I haven't heard Ice Cream Man in a long time. What's up with that? They've been lollygagging.
You don't. All right. Like honestly, I
heard the Ice Cream Man and
to your own opinion.
in a month or two.
Guys, let me classify this if I can, because this needs to be taken very seriously. You can know your value and your worth, and then the other people that you want to be around do not care about it. I'm so sick and tired of everybody saying they know your value, you know your worth. When the people that you want to be around don't acknowledge it. Yes, you can know your value and know your worth if you can have somebody rate it. For an example, if a property is worth a certain amount of money, well, what do? You go and you get a real estate person that can assess the value. And you can assess the value in many different ways. You can assess the value by neighborhood, by city, by how big the house is. Okay, how much of work needs to go into the house, renovations and the like. These are the things largely that we find when we talk about stuff like this. This is what happens, okay? This is largely what occurs. So when you go around saying you know your worth and you know your value, the problem is nobody can really rate that in the market. And if you know your value and you know your worth, and if you were really worth what you thought, then guess what would happen? You wouldn't be single. Largely, you're a person trying to hook up with everybody else, but you know your value and your worth, and you can't find anybody. Make it make sense. Then here's what she says.
I don't believe marriage is the right thing for every human. And I don't know if marriage is the right thing for me. I would be in a committed relationship, but to sign a document and have my assets attached to a person at this moment in time. No, that's what I'm saying. But like it feels like if I was a man, every man will understand my conversation. It's just because I'm a woman, you're not used to a woman saying, no, I'm good. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, you can't marry me and things go sour, and then you think you're gonna get half of my money and be with another woman. Honey, you going to heaven.
So the reason that Kendra G doesn't want to deal with anybody, guys, is because she doesn't want to lose all of her money and all of her assets to a guy. Now,
yeah, because she needs that for her weed.
From a person that knows her value and knows your worth, or knows her worth, and because she's a good woman, she's an asset. Well, let me just tell you this. Any woman who's a good woman, who's an asset, is going to bring a person for the most part. I mean, realistically, has a good chance of bringing a person. Especially being in Kendra G's particular.
Dude made me want to work out. I'm gonna do some calisthenics, do some push-ups and pull-ups.
Kendra G now,
after I get off the live.
She's been
do some push-ups and pull-ups.
So you're not just dealing with the normal kind of guys. I mean, you worked at the WGCI, the morning show out there in Chicago for years. You've been in that circle for a long time. A circle that,
especially because I missed the gym yesterday because I took a nap.
That's the most important thing. They have zero access to that circle. So people talk in high value circles. And I'm going to tell you why that's important. Let's look what's going on right now with Carl Anthony Towns and Jordan Woods. He married her, okay? One of the reasons why he married her is because I would believe she has a lot of experience with dealing with rich people. She's not from the hood, okay? And going to make $50 million a year. You might as well get a chick like Jordan Woods who you can trust, all right? When I listen to Kendra G, in my honest opinion, I can see that people, when they look at her, they don't value her at all. I don't know what it is. Could it be the age? Could it the looks, I don't really think so. Because I think that Kendra G is well put together, right? She's a good looking woman, but so she takes care of herself. So that can't be the reason. There are other
She's
reasons,
not pretty,
which
dude.
is Kendra G don't have what it takes. So she knows she's being rejected by
And
the
she's
man
old.
that she wants. And so now she's saying that the guy has to come and choose her. So wait a minute. Is that what your dating platform is about? No. The guy has to come and choose you. But for your dating platform, they come looking for the man that
She must be
want.
bold as shit
So
because
how does that
she's
make
wearing
sense?
like a new
I mean,
weave
if
on
somebody
everything.
were to tell Kendra G that, look, I'm looking for a man, but I want him to come to me. She was like, no, you need to come on to Kendra G's live and find you a man. But that doesn't apply to her. Let's get back to the idea. She's so concerned that if she deals with a man that has less money than her, he'll take the money. Then this question's asked.
What if he got more than you, though?
Okay, so let me ask you this. If a man has more than me, would y'all say more than likely he's going to want more than one woman?
Yeah,
Okay, so with that being, okay. So why would I want to, so why would you ask me to agree to be with a man that y'all will all think is going to have more than one woman?
I feel you. Listen, I've seen
Why would I sign up for that?
I've seen the maturation. I want to say this really quickly. I've seen when you've been head over heels with somebody.
Oh, God.
I've seen when you've been done with somebody. You know what I'm saying? I've seen when you thought
Because he
that.
knows me for real, for real.
I've seen when you thought this was going to be the one and all of that. You know what I mean? But so I like the maturation. I also remember the days where some of the things you're saying now, you may not have agreed with back then.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And I can say this. Shout out to Kyle and Leon, who I did the morning show with, who are married men who used to tell me stuff all the time.
There's all the time. Are you really thinking that?
No, but let me tell you, maybe I was once the delusional women of the show that would call in because my show is my education forum. People think like my show taught me everything I know for the last 6 years because I have interviewed people and now I actually know the real data. So now I'm really in this and I do singles events. So I know in real time the ratio for the amount of man that is described that women want opposed to the amount of options he has.
Now, this is interesting. So she's saying, why don't you get a guy with money? Well, if I get a guy with money, then that means I got to be one of the multiple women. So why does it make sense to get with a guy with money? So let's look at the catch-22 that she
Right.
put herself in.
So-
right? And a lot of ladies...
You don't want to be with a rich guy because you're going to have to share him. You don't want to be with, but you don't want to be a broke guy because he's going to take your money.
A guy got to come find me. Or you're not worth my time. You too broke to be dealing with me. All right? That's the first thing. So first of all, you got to come and find her. And if you're so lucky to be the right guy and you want to go further in a relationship, well, then I can't really marry you because you might take the money that I have. So, all right. Well, so that's a broke guy, right? So if he's broke, you don't like him. But if he got money, he can stay with you. But he can't get a ring. So then what if he got money? Well, he got money. So then automatically he going to cheat on me. So why would I put myself in that situation? What that shows me, number one, is Kendra G has low self-esteem, very low. And I don't know if any guys have really witnessed that or understood that, but Kendra G is a low self-esteem lady.
Because she's not pretty. Look at her.
Why? Because anybody always going around talking about how they know their worth, they understand what they have, they know this, they know that. That's a person with low self-esteem, guys.
Yeah.
Any woman that's sure of herself doesn't talk like that. And any woman who is sure of herself is going to be able to compete and say, listen, I'm good enough. The man's not going to cheat on me. A broke dude can cheat on me, right? Any woman that's confident enough will say, I can get a high value man. The man is not going to cheat on me. You're assuming that every guy is going to cheat that has money. And you're only doing that because you feel like you can't get that man to begin with. So you use that excuse to protect yourself. And you think that somebody is stupid. There are plenty of women all the time. These NBA players get married. You got Steph Curry, Aisha Curry. You got Karl Anthony Towns, Jordan Woods. A lot of these guys are in the NBA. A lot of NBA players, NFL players who are married, stay faithful to their wives. One of the reasons why they do it is because it helps them have a long career. They get the best sleep. They get recovery. They don't have off-the-field issues. They get better brand deals. They get another max contract. So there are men out there. It's just that the problem is, Kendra G, you're not a person appealing to those kind of men. And so you know it. So you can't marry the broke dude. You can't marry the rich dude. So, but you're a good person. You know your worth. If you know your worth so much, then why don't you be competitive? It's just like being a content creator. It's so many content creators online. Isn't that the case when Kendra G came online? YouTube is brutal. only the top 1% of us make any real money. And Kendra G
That's
doesn't
true.
have any problem competing
That's
on
what I was
the
trying to
platform.
explain to my
And
friend
YouTube
that
has
a guy being a
different
streamer
rules,
doesn't
has
mean he's
different
making
laws,
money.
but it didn't matter, right? And it's the same thing. And I would argue that because of Kendra G is who she is and the network that she has, the same network and pool that she started off on Instagram, on the Facebook, and on the YouTube is the same thing she would have with relationships. You would think. You know all the people. You have them on speed dial. You have all these networks. You mean to tell me that these men want you? Because you don't believe in yourself when it comes to that. And the issue is this. So many women use that same talking points against black men as if black men are the problem. When largely, the real issue that we're talking about here is self-esteem issues. You got to get over that, Kendra. All right? A lot of black men also, but we're talking about black women. This is a theme that we see with certain ladies. And then your insecurities, I want to tell you what happens. It comes into your relationships. Because just how she's saying a rich guy is going to cheat, or a broke dude's going to take her money, or a guy who makes less going to take her money, and she's afraid to get married. All of those insecurities come into the relationship every day. Where are you going? You know, who you going with, all of those things. And brothers don't want to put up with that. You know, we got to be honest. And the more these ladies talk, the more they expose themselves. They just do. The more people go on to these platforms and they talk and they interview, they give their positions on stuff, what they continue to do is to contradict themselves. And the more you contradict yourself, the more people don't take you that serious. Because it's largely very difficult to take somebody seriously who, like, whenever you see them, they're like talking you know, like they're saying anything out of their mouth. Their whole stance is hypocritical. Like even with Kendra G, you're helping people find relationships. Yet you yourself exercise a different mechanism of getting a man than you tell your clients. I do not imagine you're going to get YouTube help. Okay? Imagine that. You come on to YouTube, you want to get YouTube help, right? You see a YouTuber or a business coach, and they are practicing something the opposite of what they're telling you. Can you trust that person? Hell no. You can never trust a person that goes opposite of what they teach everybody else. And this is largely what's happening with Kendra G. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy L.C.B. Jackson back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. Appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe to the bell. We're out.
This
What's good?
School is where germs pop up. And now with your help, so does Lysol. Because this year, when you buy...
What's good, everybody? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. Your boy Ava is having some real big difficulties out here in these streets, and it has everything to do with another young lady by the name of Kiki Araceli. All right? This is the young lady that did not come forth in the beginning. Remember, there was Libby from the Libby Kellyanne channel. And then there was Stephanie from I Love Capers 99 out in Switzerland. And then this is a young woman that is from North Carolina. So single mother. Seems to be a very, very nice young lady. Okay? And
She got bars in her window,
didn't
though.
have
So.
a passport. But I was the one that paid for her to get this passport. If you guys can remember, there was a young woman who was showing certain insides of Abba's apartment, and she was so happy to go to Montreal. And on the first trip, what happened was that Abba got her pregnant. Okay, this is what happened, and there's a lot of stuff you can go and look at on her video. It is called Abba Atlas on Abba and Preach: My Experience Dating a Narcissistic YouTuber with 2 million subs. I'll link that, and I want you guys to go and look at that and just see how damaging this video is. What I was given from a subscriber is even more incredible. And if you look at this image here, it's a web archive. You really can't see what is honestly going on. But I'm going to tell you, and the reason why you cannot see it, because it's largely in French. But what we want to try to do is our very best to translate it here. And what happens here is these allegations are saying in 2020, he was charged anonymously from women for allegations of sexual misconduct in Quebec, okay? These things he was translated with, and you see his name, Abba Atlas, YouTuber based in Montreal, which is out, and as far as to warn other women about his behaviors. Now, this particular site was shut down, and in Canada, it's a lot different than it is in the United States. So a lot of this stuff was put down, okay? And that's what it was. So he never faced any real criminal charges for it. The site was shut down because people came out and sued the people for defamation. But okay, that's something that happened in 2020. Okay, you can say that is a scorned lover. That is a person that may be upset trying to ruin one's life or trying to ruin his life. Fine. But now, what is interesting is that in 2021, at the height of the Fresh and Fit versus the Avid and Preach beef, he was involved, Avid was involved with a young lady by the name of Stephanie, I Love Capers 99. At the same time that he was castigating Fresh and Myron amongst that time period of 2021, 2022 for doing similar things such as sexual misconduct, the things that we're talking about now, even impregnating the women in his audience, or at least some of the girls that were OnlyFans models. And Abba's real argument at that particular time was, you're telling men not to do X, Y, and Z, yet you are participating in X, Y, and Z. At the same time, Abba was doing this sort of behavior with Stephanie, getting her pregnant, and she was in Switzerland. Now, all of the women, Liddy, this young lady here, Kiki, and also Stephanie, all claimed to have been pregnant by him. He admitted that this was the truth. He was then lying before, saying that he had health conditions, he had a low sperm count. He never provided any source of that sperm count. But all of them all said that they were contacted first from the Alba and Preach Instagram. This is very important because as content creators, I'm not really on Instagram posting content, but if you are on Instagram and you do have a big following, fans have a parasocial relationship with now I'm not trying to say that YouTubers are better, but it does happen. Okay, I'm all around the world often, and people see me, and believe it or not, some folks go crazy, even though it's just me. And I can just imagine with somebody with my smaller audience, and I'm not mainstream, I'm not a mainstream commentary person such as them. You can imagine what somebody who has 2.2, 2.3 million subscribers, and they don't really have a big black audience in comparison to me, right? They have blacks that watch them, but they basically appeal to the mainstream. And all of these women that have these allegations, none of them are black, okay? And they all say that at one point in time, after he gets you pregnant, he doesn't call back, he doesn't really follow up, he gaslights a lot, and none of these women know each other, but this is what is alleged. Also, if you look at the allegation of the warning, you will see one thing as master, okay? This was in 2020. Now, all of them said that he sent them a sexual or master video at the same time. So he was supposed to be involved with Libby, and him and Stephanie had broken up, but yet he also sent them a master video, which they did not ask for. And he was accusing them of sharing the master video to one another when largely that's not the case, because this is something that he did. Now, also, I want to talk about what some of the women have now said sexually about Mr. Abba.
Visible puts the
Hey, Agatha, what's up?
in the palm of your hand.
I'm actually about to get off after this video goes off.
Just $19 a month, guaranteed for 1 year for a limited time.
But nice hearing from you.
Best 5G network.
I know you're always busy.
Plus, unlimited hotspot to keep you connected. Unlimited, unleashed, and no contract holding you back. Visible isn't just a wireless plan. It's wireless designed for chronically connected. Big wireless service for half the cost. Visible. Live in the know.
When the stink lingers, use Lysol Air Sanitizer.
FanDuel's dropping profit boost on college football Saturdays. So how do we spread the word? I got it.
Why do we stop?
Well, and that is this.
Kiki said that to him wasn't enjoyable, and then the other girl also said that his felt one-sided.
The first thing that we hear is that Abba does not really care about the other person's experience in bed. The experience is non-pleasant. This aligns with what they are saying in this particular sort of report, kind of a creep. Okay, so that isn't new. That's old. there's a causation and there's a correlation here, okay? Now, as much as he wants to try to silence these women, as much as he is trying to dox them, which all of them have said he's done, I've seen him do it. Some of them he has tried to send certain documents to their workplace. Even the sexual behavior that they accuse him of is just as similar, if not the exact same, as to what some random person accused him of 2020. The behavior never changed. While at the same time, he was hating on Destiny, his former friend. He was hating on Fresh. He was calling people out, but yet being a creep. And if Abba was in America, because America goes a lot harder after people who do stuff like this, he'd be locked up. He'd be off the platform. That's 100%. One of the only reasons I believe he's still on the platform is because he is a Canada. If he had did this in the States, especially a guy of African descent with white women, you're done. Here's the next point.
But you think about the fact that he uses his brand to scout subscribers he finds attractive and then flies them out.
But wait.
And I think it's weird as in hindsight, it's odd because I got bars on my windows. What? You want to fly me out? I should have known then.
I also want to talk about this idea of sitting back and preying on your audience. Now, if you look at the lady that's Kiki Araceli, she talks about she has security bars on her windows. What does that mean? I mean, she's a very pretty young lady too, by the way. You know, shout out to her. She's a young lady. She has this parasocial relationship.
It's a white girl with big
this
lips.
man that she's met online. She watches on television. She feels
Araceli.
He accepts her.
Maybe she's Italian. I'm guessing she's Italian.
She wants to be a mother. She wants to be a wife. Here is her big opportunity to do that. And she seems like she's a woman that comes from humble beginnings. I'm not trying to, insult her or whatever, but she has bars on her windows. So, okay, that can mean anything. So what do you want to do with me? In other words, Abba is worse than the Password Bros, according to some.
Yeah, homie disses.
Bros, but that's what they say about the Password Bros. You're saying that these men are going overseas, taking advantage of these helpless, poor women. Okay?
No, they're not.
Here's where
those women they hook up with are looking for these guys
let's say, for example,
for relationships or just to hook up with.
The booty clapping of Latin America, Colombia, Dominican.
Nothing, just live streaming for a few before I get off.
When you're a person that has an advantage over your audience and you're using your Instagram to talk to them and you're preying on them, they have 400 subscribers, 500 subscribers or followers on Instagram, and then you act like you are going to be with them, and then you don't. Let me just say this. Y'all are going to trip out when I say this, but just hear me out. For certain people, it might be like Chris Brown messaging you. Your favorite YouTuber or content creator, for certain people, it can blur the line as much as it's Chris Brown or a big-time celebrity. Because to that person, you are a big-time celebrity. Let's not get it twisted.
I'm no one's big-time celebrity.
That's what it means. And I know that everybody's not going to like it, but it's the truth. And the reality is that I didn't know all of this information about Abba. I've always appreciated his tier 1 commentary. And my honest opinion, I believe he's one of the most talented commentary guys, attacking arguments, attacking conflict-based situations on YouTube. He's probably one of the top 5 guys I've seen that does it with precision. But boy, is he a hypocrite. I mean, I have never seen a person destroy a brand like this. This is the biggest fall off I've ever seen in my life. Seriously, I've seen a lot of guys fall.
This man been pumping out a lot of videos about Abba. He even has another one after this one, but I'm not gonna watch that one.
In real time, okay? Like we all knew that.
Oh, it's raining there. You're back in New York City.
Nothing. In the case of Abba and Preach, both of them tried to hide this. Preach is no better, okay? You have a reputation for being you went after other guys for being a creep. You even called Destiny out for some of his issues. A person that's supposed to be your friend, so basically you're not trustworthy, and then you try to shut people up by trying to hide the truth. A complete bozo. In my honest opinion, a complete loser. And I know we all can be hypocritical. I definitely have my hypocrisy and still will. But to this level of extent, no. And this is what I try to tell guys. When you're dealing with YouTube, I always tell content creators, it costs you a lot to sleep with these women that you don't want. Okay? If you're gonna deal with women on YouTube, okay, that watch your channel, your opportunity to clap is high. I've seen situations women leave their
not for me.
YouTubers, women leave it. It's just crazy. no sense.
But yeah,
All
some
right?
some
And
YouTubers
I'm saying that,
definitely,
family,
that's
because
definitely
this
true.
is serious. It really is.
Yeah,
There's a lot of booty clapping going on in there with these guys. And then if you're gonna be a guy,
Then there's a lot of
that
booty
does it,
clapping
don't come after
between
other guys who
YouTubers.
do it, okay? But if you got a camera other guys who do it, and then you're doing it, somebody gonna bust your ass. I'm sorry, they got you because
Pause.
you're a liar. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy O'Shea Good Jackson. Back at it again. Thumbs up, soda up. Dust it up your trunk. Before you do, straight the bell. We're out.
Well, I'm sorry you caught me at the tail end of the stream, Agatha. But I'm about to bounce. I'm
With new
tired.
categories beyond fashion, you can now sell pre-loved items from every era and make extra cash.
So I'm gonna
what's
get
next.
Jetty.
Snap a photo from every
And
ink. Upload your item, including price and description.
I'll holler at you later.
And once it's sold,
See
prep
ya.
it for shipping. Sell on Vinted with
And like I
categories.
said, if you're on Instagram, you can hit me up on there because I'm not on Facebook anymore.
You'll have to get the answers to these questions correct.
But hopefully I'll talk to you next time. See you.